Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Joe Yoon, and I'm here with Chase Tuning on Everforward Radio. Had an amazing podcast talking a little bit about my book, Better Stretching, how to set up your own workouts for mobility and flexibility training. Also talked about some intention, not only in your workouts, but also in your career and business. And then a little bit about everything, also mindsets on, again, your workouts, but also being mindful of your social media if you're a fitness professional. And hopefully you enjoy this podcast. And this is Everforward Radio.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste right here. That was a lame. I could do better than that. That was a lame intro. Well, here we are. We're live.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, we'll go with it.
Joe, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
We're on a little bit of a collab content mobility tour, right?
A little bit, yeah. Just trying to come out here, and anyone I know that's just in fitness or anything that's related to fitness, just trying to hit them up. Yeah. And a lot of them live out here, including you.
There are a lot of fitnessers out here. A lot of fitnessers,
It's very conducive for healthy people.
Exactly, which is exactly what you do. And I was telling you that when we got to talk on Instagram, and I really got to do a deep dive on like all the videos and like tutorials, I was just like, it was a great reminder personally for me of all the things that I tried to do more of throughout my daily practice of just being a human being, but also as great ways to improve my lifts, to improve my posture, to improve my like not feeling so hunched over and sore and immobile all the time, whether it's daily living, working out, travel, a lot of different things. I was like, yes, like I need more of this in my life. And like, I want you on the show as like, this is a great time when I get to be selfish in what I do and just learn things to make me a better human being and pass it on to you guys. So officially welcome. I'm stoked to just hear what you have to say. I guess off the cuff, why such a focus on the mobility kind of things when, I mean, massage therapist, personal trainer, got all the scientific and like exercise background where I think a lot of people typically go true fitness. You could have gone a couple different ways. Why mobility, and why is it so important?
Yeah, there were so many different ways I could have gone. Yeah, personal trainer, massage therapist, and I actually got my start as a personal trainer. Yeah, and got to shadow this therapist who was also a trainer, and he's like, "Oh, this is perfect. You can do some soft tissue work if they're not feeling great, and then you can go right back into the workout." So I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good.
Oh, wow, like during the training session.
Yeah.
Wow,
so let's say you were doing some sort of lift and you didn't want to do the stretching or the mobility side. You could get your therapist to just do some quick soft tissue work, almost like if you're in the NFL or something. And
this is genius.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. Like, why is nobody doing that?
So I was like, ooh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And then I got into the golf industry, and that's where I saw it kind of happen live, where they were like, I can't really turn that much, but I need to get into this position. Hey, can you help me work some stuff out so I can get into that position? So it's like, then you do a little therapy stuff and then go right into it. And then it's like amazingly automatically better.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing.
So that's when I started to get a little bit more into the mobility side, because golf was a little bit of, I transitioned into golf from just regular fitness.
Yeah.
And that's where movement mattered a ton.
Keyword.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I started to apply it to kind of other disciplines, because everyone's got a body. They just have to do different movements depending on what sport or what activity they want to do.
What daily living you have.
Exactly. I mean, you could just be the same thing like the desk worker, and you're hunched over, you're at the laptop all day editing, and you're just like, damn, like I don't feel that good. I don't feel that good.
Yeah.
I need to move around and maybe stand up, or what stretch can I do to help reverse the movement that I'm kind of stuck in all day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what you're saying right there is where typically people begin to think initially about mobility, or why it even pops up, is I'm working out this kind of way, or I'm this tight because I've been hunched over my desk, or maybe heavy travel. So it typically happens, and maybe I'm just speaking personally, it happens after the fact. It happens when maybe things, not to say too late, but you've got a problem, you've got a sore muscle, you've got, an inability to move properly, or to go through a full range of motion in a lift, or a full swing in your golf. How can we get better doing it before?
So I think people realize that they have an issue when they try to do something
Yeah.
or they're in pain
Yeah.
or they try to do something. They're like, I can't get into
Yeah.
this position. If you're like squatting and you do more powerlifting type of stuff, I think you do like 5x5 still.
Oh, that's my jam. Yeah.
That's what I used to do all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm like trying to do 10 reps. I'm like, oh, I can't do 10 reps.
Anything after 5 is cardio for me.
Exactly. Yeah. It's brutal. I'm like, I didn't even do anything today, but I'm huffing and puffing. And you realize when you start doing these technical lifts, especially powerlifting, a lot of the weightlifters, very extreme ranges of motion with their arms overhead. Then they realize I got to work on my mobility.
Yeah.
And also if they're in pain because of their immobility, they're like, now I got to fix it. And by that time, it's not too late. It's just you have to take a step back.
More damage is done.
Exactly. You got to take a step back and then concentrate on your training program to progress back to where you want to get to.
Yeah. I was sharing with you earlier that this type of approach to fitness, this type of approach to mobility, prehab, rehab, more dynamic movements, not only do they help me in like the day-to-day living, but they exponentially and very quickly, if not immediately, help me with my fitness. They help me with my main lifts. I was telling you, when I got more consistent and intentional around my yoga practice a couple of years ago back in DC, I was going at least once a week, maybe twice. The next day, I would get strategic with it. I would plan my yoga session before, like a day I had, like I knew I really wanted to go heavy, or I wanted to do a PR or something. I wasn't even really ever fully on a program, so I couldn't program it that specifically. But I mean, you know, when you're like, all right, I think I'm gonna throw some weight around today. Like tomorrow.
It's like you're prepping for
exactly.
it.
Yeah. And so I knew that. And so what I did was I began to notice that on days when I did that before, I could get down into the hole way deeper in my squat. I could like feel more fully engaged when I was ripping the bar off the ground for a deadlift, or you know, kind of nursing some injuries here and there, just annoyances with like my shoulder and stuff. How would you say? I think that the best way to kind of work on this stuff is to put it into the front, like to front load this into our training, whether you're on a program or just a weekend warrior or whatever. When would you say we should do what for, let's say, you know, for like the type of powerlifting, like we're doing, you know, sets of 3, sets of 5, you know, heavy weight, heavy compound for the heavy compound lifter out there. When should we be doing what to really best set us up for success with those lifts? Yeah.
So it depends on if you have kind of blatant deficiencies or limitations. If that's
like what do you mean by that exactly?
Let's say, well, usually if you're powerlifting or you're a weightlifter, for the most part, you're still in that sport because you're good at it.
Right.
Usually. So you probably don't have
Yeah.
mobility restrictions or ones that are very glaring. You're probably just nitpicking. So every CrossFitter that comes into me for a massage therapy session, they're like, oh, this is kind of bothering me, or this feels a little tight. And then I'll assess them or just have them move.
Yeah.
Show me what's bothering
like
you.
What are you trying to do?
Exactly. Their mobility is just fucking really good, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's probably, maybe it's not this. It's going to be really minor on your adjusting your technique or whatever. So if you have those issues, probably really hammering on those. Let's say it's like an ankle, you have a tight ankle, it's having you trouble get to the bottom of the squat, then work on that and probably do it away from your lifting.
Okay. What do you mean?
Maybe like just a different session. So don't do it right before you're about to do a PR.
Like
or
don't actually
like.
go in for treatment or work on this kind of movement pattern before.
You can, but just try to be mindful of doing it right before an intense training session.
Gotcha.
Just because it takes time for your body to adapt, and then
it's inflammation when you really think about it.
Yeah, it's inflammation, and then also just motor control, because if you have a full range of motion out of stretching for a long time or doing mobility, and then you go into a lift, it might not carry over. It's going to take a little bit of time, right?
Okay.
So working on that and then going right into the lift maybe is not the best idea. It probably won't kill you, but and then another thing is a lot of the mobility stuff and the stretching stuff. There's a lot of, I guess, like controversy. I don't know if you've heard people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't static stretch."
Oh, static versus dynamic stretching.
Yeah,
it's
the
age-old question.
Yeah, it's like
debate.
I shouldn't static stretch before I lift. Super heavy, you're going to lose power.
Right.
In your case, and I'll give you a little bit of background on this, is you do lose power if you statically stretch for a long time, but that it's usually only if you lift right after.
Okay.
So let's say you stretch a hamstring out for 30 seconds, you lose a couple percent of power. If you do 60 seconds plus, maybe it's a little bit more, maybe 3 to 5%
For
power.
some people, that might matter more. For like the true athlete.
Exactly.
This is where you got to get real with who you are.
Exactly. But so if you're about to go pull 500 pounds, 600 pounds on a deadlift, and that's your PR, you probably shouldn't stretch for a long time.
Because those percentages count.
Those matter in that case, So going right into it and then lifting super heavy, maybe there's probably going to be a power decrease. And, that's going to affect that person more. But it's usually mitigated, the power loss, if you do a full warm-up after you statically stretch.
Okay.
So
walk us through this. Let's like someone with your expertise and your background and understanding of anatomy, what is the best way to warm up? We go from static stretching, I think that's pretty, understood. Dynamic warming up in general, the do's, the don'ts, how do we do it and why?
Yeah, so I don't mind static stretching just because if you do a full warm-up after like your dynamic stuff and then you go into your more specific drills, then you do that, the power loss is going to be mitigated from what everything is being said about it. But so I like to actually do maybe a little bit of foam rolling, a little bit of static stretching, especially if in tight areas. Maybe you just thrashed yourself a couple days ago and you're just like, something's still sore.
Yeah.
I just need a little bit more time working on it.
Yeah.
So I'll take care of those things specifically with the foam rolling, the static stretching.
The classics.
Yeah, the classics, the old school stuff. And that also makes you feel better in your brain. You're like, ooh. That's
a really good point. Yeah, to kind of know that even if it was super effective or not, it's like the placebo effect is a real effect. Like if you, that's a great point. If you're aware that you went through the things to set you up for success in your lifts, you're going into it with a better mindset.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're kind of taking everything, you're like, static stretching is bad. It's going to zap my power. But my hamstring still feels a little tight from the other day. You might feel better if you just stretch it out. It feels a little bit better. And then your mindset and your brain is like, oh, I'm comfortable lifting here. And there's no doubt because, again, that's a performance thing, especially with a higher level athlete or if you're trying to pull a PR in your workout session.
Oh, yeah. Keeping in, we were talking predominantly powerlifting, but once you start increasing the weight, like then really everything matters from like a safety concern. So if there's any doubt in your mind that I can't do this or what if I injure myself, if you can mitigate that, whether it's in your head or literally in your body, like that can literally make or break you.
I think that's super underrated too, because I work with a ton of high-level athletes, like NFL, Olympic track stars. But imagine if something was just a little off. They're so in tune with their bodies. That's what a lot of people don't realize. They know if something's off. Yeah. So if they just correct something right off the bat, they'll feel more comfortable and they'll probably perform better anyways.
Absolutely.
So going from that to a little bit of that classic stuff, the static stretching, the old school, foam rolling, doing your dynamic warm-ups are always good. How
do you define that? I'm curious. Again, this is where I get to be selfish with an expert. Dynamic warm-up. What really does that mean and what should it look like?
I keep it as simple as possible, just moving. So I like to do, because just coming from more of a sports background and strength and conditioning, it's basically finding a long strip of turf and doing something like world's greatest stretch where you're kind of lunging out, elbow down, rotate up towards the sky, kind of what this looks like here, and then and then going into your hamstring stretch, and then walking it down kind of the turf or the field.
Yeah, it's going from I yoga, but I don't know all the terms. So it's like I think it's a warrior pose into like a lizard pose. Where you drop
it's
down,
very similar to lizard
which
pose.
That is my absolute favorite thing in the world. And then you kind of open up and
that one's tough. And and then you open up and then you do the hamstring, then you walk it out. And there's things like inchworms where you do the toe touch, walk it out into a push-up position, and then you walk your ankles in. So I like to do that type of work.
So really just engaging as many muscle groups as possible.
Pretty much.
At the same time in kind of a continuous motion.
Exactly. Okay. So it gets you moving, gets your body moving. It also gets you probably prepped to do things that you're going to do in your workout. That's a little bit more specific than just like holding a stretch in one position. And then you can do things like, a lot of my friends like to do things that are maybe like sprinting in place. They call like fast feed, or doing some sort of like med ball work or plyo, just to get everything fired.
Yeah.
And then you can get into your workout.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then do your regular warm up sets too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a huge point too. Yeah, absolutely. Static stretching, dynamic warm up doesn't mean you can then just jump right into like full working sets. Yeah.
So it's going from very general to more specific.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, if you're powerlifting, you probably want to do more like glute activations and hip hinging stuff, where if you're a runner, maybe it's more lower body stuff. And if you're, like a swimmer, maybe more upper body stuff.
In your professional opinion, would you say that that's one of the areas, or maybe the area, where you see people mess up the most? Kind of jumping the steps too soon, going straight into a dynamic warm up, into working sets, or where would you kind of say people like jump the gun too soon?
I think it depends on who the person is, because I know some high school kids who could probably just jog it out real quick, and then they're like
assholes,
fucking dicks, and then they're
agile bodies.
Well, that's what we used to be like. I feel like when we were younger, it's let's just go hit a bench real quick, and then you're fine.
Let me just go straight to like all the plates. Tree fitty, bro. Just don't punch out.
About tree fitty,
which actually never happened for me. I still
haven't made that yet. But yeah, I mean, so it depends on all the younger athletes.
Yeah.
But when I was working with the high school kids, it's important to get that kind of ingrained in their brains.
That's a good point, yeah.
And then they're going to be more prepped for whatever they're doing anyways. So their brain's just like, I'm getting ready for this workout. Let's get fired up. Maybe listen to music or something while you're doing it too, and get all jacked up for your workout.
Podcast.
Yeah, or podcast. And that's kind of where it's at. And I think sometimes people forget about that dynamic side too. It's more, they'll stick with the static stretching, and then
because it's easier. We can sit and scratch and still scroll on Instagram and look the part.
Yeah, you can boomerang yourself doing a foam roll real quick, and then leave the gym without working out. Yeah. And that's what I like. Or that's what I see a lot, is kind of just jumping from the dynamic stuff. But I also like to use that as a way to fit in mobility work.
Good point. Yeah.
So if you do 5 to 10 minutes of your dynamic stuff, you're doing 5 to 10 minutes of mobility work every time you work out, and that adds up to X amount of days per year, and you'll probably feel better just in general.
Yeah. In general, for the sport specific person, for the athlete, for the powerlifter, so many different ways to kind of go with what we're talking about. You know, the importance of staying ready so you don't need to get ready.
Exactly.
When it comes to the human body. In this, really kind of we're able to, I'm sure, bring to life a lot of the key modalities, key movements, key principles in better stretching. I want to deliver some tangible things for select people here. So let's say everyday human being. Maybe they're not quite in their fitness journey yet. They're stay-at-home dad or a working mom or whatever. Let's go with the everyday human being. Like, what page? Like, what stretch? Like, where are we going to just be a better daily human being? Liver.
Yeah, so
that's liver. Yeah,
a liver.
How do we improve our liver, Joe?
Well, you want to drink a lot of coffee. I don't know.
For the everyday human being, what should we be doing more of, and why?
So one of the things in here that I'm really proud of, and the 9 minutes a day, I wanted to keep it. I have a website where I have a whole bunch of members, and I wanted to keep it very attainable, because some people, they don't want to do mobility work anyways. I get so many clients coming in, they're just like, hey, Joe.
Every day I go in the gym like,
well, they're like, Joe, I don't stretch enough. I don't do enough mobility. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't even say hi to you yet. That's the first thing they say is, I don't stretch enough. I'm like, I'm not judging.
This isn't confession.
It's not a confessional. So I wanted to keep it, first of all, unintimidating, and keep it 9 minutes. But I've also seen really good results with my clients. And a lot of them are regular day people who just want to feel better throughout the day. But then it also becomes something where, let's say they're pretty sedentary. This helps them get moving more.
Oh, that's a great point. So great catalyst.
I call it almost, it was like a gateway. I said this.
It's a gateway drug.
When I went on Jordan Side's podcast, I call it like a gateway drug, but like in a good way. And
it's the good gateway drug.
And one thing in here as well is I talk a little bit about the strengthening component too. So it's not just about mobility. There's a segment in here that talks about how important strength plays in just like the healthy pie thing. It's like everything is just piece of the puzzle.
Us living.
Yeah, this is a pie. And that's part of it, just because it's it's fitness, it's mobility, flexibility, strength,
Yeah.
nutrition, whatever.
Which
sleep.
paints the picture really for the everyday person. I mean, the everyday person, all of these things matter kind of equally, or like they haven't really married or given one section, definitely not fitness, maybe more of the section where maybe the more seasoned athlete or seasoned person who works out more. That's a really good point, man.
Yeah, so it has to be balanced, to some extent. And then I also have a way to program just your own 9-minute session a day.
Oh, huge. Okay.
Yeah, so I always say you're the person who knows your body the best. So for you, maybe you spend a little bit more time on your spine and your shoulder.
It's my shoulder, my hips, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like to start it with more of like the spine and the hips.
Okay.
Like the big bang for your buck stretches, kind of like
the things they're going to have to move no matter what exercise you do.
Exactly. It's like when you work out, you do for mostly you do your big lifts first, and then you do like your bicep triceps, unless you're trying to get massive biceps and triceps. But that's
I've been trying for years, man. It just doesn't happen for me.
That's why I'm wearing this hoodie. That's why I wear pants and a hoodie all the time. And so working the spine and getting it mobile, because that can affect your shoulder.
Absolutely.
And then your hips. If your hips are messed up, it could affect your knee. And then from there, branching off a little bit, if you want to, and work on other things. And then finishing it up with a strengthening exercise. I think that's super important. Is making sure that you kind of glue. That's the glue that puts everything together. It's like it's not done until you do some sort of strengthening exercise that will kind of help overall.
I love that concept of kind of bringing to light something that I don't think I've even focused on, is that this stuff actually is a form of strength training. This is a primer for strength training. So kind of going from everyday person to an exerciser, maybe not a full-blown athlete, but just someone who exercise and fitness is a regular part of the routine, and strength training. Like, how is mobility actually a form of strength training? How does it make us better at strength training?
It's interesting. There was like a study where very sedentary people started stretching, and they gained a little bit of muscle.
Really?
They didn't, they're not winning Mr. Olympia
Yeah,
anytime
but they
soon.
had a little bit of hypertrophy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because they're so sedentary that even if you think about stretching and holding a position, it's kind of like an isometric.
It's a contraction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it had enough stimulus where there was hypertrophy in the muscle. So that's one thing, is it's just a form of exercise at the lowest level. And then there's things like...
Can you just pause right there? That is so amazing. Like, that is such a monumental concept that, especially people in the beginning stages of their wellness journey, that's probably why they stop. Because like, oh, well, I don't have the body for it, or I'm going to hurt myself, or I'm not going to get these results, or it's going to be too much. Like, it's this overwhelming sensation that, I mean, being on the other side of it, we know that like that's a big part of what we try to work through with people to help them kind of break down. 100%. But just know that like something as small as integrating just a few moments a day of stretching can stimulate that response that you're going to like, you're going to feel better. And that's the eventual response we're after anyway in exercise.
Exactly.
That's
and
huge,
then
man.
that can be that gateway to them wanting to do more.
Yeah.
Then they want it. It's like, going straight into powerlifting might be very intimidating, but let's say stretch it out a little bit. Oh, and you're doing this plank at the end of it. Oh, cool. I never thought I could do a plank.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I'm getting stronger. Let's try this side plank with my leg up. And then they're
wild.
Yeah. And then they're like, ooh, I love this. And they get addicted. Then maybe that inspires them to go do, some class or something. And then
can actually step into strength training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of this. I want to make sure that, because online I get sometimes a lot of flack because it's just stretching. So they think I'm just, oh, you're just mobility, flexibility. But I'm like, I was a trainer first.
Yeah.
So I understand how important strength training is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Overall, just to be strong and prevent injuries and becoming more resilient. So it's really cool. And then obviously doing the active stuff, like eccentric contractions, definitely help become more flexible. Basically, if you just work out, you can get more flexible just by working out, because there's a eccentric and a concentric contraction. Yeah. So it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's great introductions for people of all stages and all areas of the spectrum of fitness that can still yield a result, which I think whether you're a seasoned athlete or a beginner, we're still seeking results. You may love the event more, you may love the activity more, the more that you do it and get that response, but still at the end of the day, for some professional powerlifters, if they can increase their deadlift by 5 pounds a year,
Yeah.
like that's huge, and you're training all year for that. But if for the beginner, if they can just deadlift 5 pounds sometimes, or or just throwing that first 45-pound plate on the bar, like it's these baby steps, it's these little things that you need to know that are doing your body justice, but also doing your future self justice.
And if you're injured on top of that, saying that like
Oh my
5-pound
gosh,
deadlift,
yeah.
some people just hurt bending over without any weight. So if we can get them moving and feeling better, it might empower them and also give them the confidence to move more and not be afraid to lift something up off the ground, after a couple days. And then by that time, they got the confidence.
Then they're off to the races.
Now, then they're 10,000 pound deadlift.
Coming soon. Another area that I think is so unique about you that you've kind of been talking about is, hey, I was a trainer first, and then I can do massage therapy, but I can also run you through these mobility. Like it's all encompassing. So I'm curious for the person who's listening, who is maybe one of those or wants to become one of those. How has kind of looking at the human body and movement and training in a variety of ways, like different paradigms, different hands-on approaches, mobility, whatever, like how has that made you better being a fitness professional now? Kind of shifting gears and looking at the person who is doing this or wants to do this as a profession. Like I think it's amazing. I'm all for it. I'm very similar, but what about you? Like how has it made you better as a professional, and why these different paradigms?
So when I got started as a personal trainer, that's helped me so much in what I'm doing now. I think it's just by understanding what people are talking about. And like you usually get people who are, at least my demographic, people who worked out who got hurt.
Exactly.
So if you know what a lat pull down is, if you know what a stiff-legged deadlift is, Romanian deadlift, those are terms that a lot of massage therapists don't know, or people who just concentrate on a certain modality. They're like, I don't know what that is, and then they have to like explain it to them. But for me, it's like, hey, that person got hurt doing this. Now I can instantly figure it out and then work on it. And what was the question again?
So no, I mean, like as a professional, because this is what you do for a living. I think it's so unique when I see someone who has all these different, you can have different certifications, but like it's unique. You have, personal trainer, massage therapist, all these different approaches and ways that we look at the human body and how we work with them and through them. Like you started as a personal trainer, heart devoted fitness, and then moved into massage therapy. Is that kind of next? Yeah. So why, what was it about massage therapy that you thought was going to add value to you as a fitness professional?
I think anything when you're trying to help people, and this was all before, the social media, it's like Instagram just started, but I was taking pictures of, I don't know. It was like you couldn't even like take long videos at that time. It was
they didn't have video, I don't think.
I don't. Yeah, if it was like 15 seconds. Yeah. I was taking pictures of. I still take pictures of my coffee, but like
because coffee.
Yeah. Just because I love it, and back then it wasn't about kind of just like showing people things. It was just to help the client out, right? Yeah. I think that's hopefully why people get into the industry. Maybe not anymore, but it's back then it was definitely to help people out, and I just felt like this was another tool to help people out. And then as I progressed in my career, I enjoyed that side a little bit better because there were so many more people concentrating on the strength training side. Like I loved it, but I mean, some people are obsessed with it and they will do anything to make their clients even better just at strength training.
Yeah.
So for me, going from trainer, massage therapist to like a golf person, that interested me just a little bit more, where that got me going every day. And then I would just refer people to be like, oh yeah, come see me. I'll give you a massage, and then go to this person to get fucking strong. Go to this person to get super.
You knew
lean.
Your strengths.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing because I didn't realize what my strengths were until probably like a year ago, 2 years ago.
Really? Where
I started I said this on another show, I tripled down. It's a Gary Vee thing. He says triple down on your strengths. So when I started to get a little bit more popular on social and getting the feedback from people, they were like, you're very good at communicating complicated things. I just like watching your videos. So I was I just kept doing that. I made more videos and tried to keep everything as simple as possible. And what I loved. and that was
Awesome.
more of the mobility stuff. Some of the stability stuff too, and just making sure that that was pushed out, and also a mindful way where I wasn't pissing people off left and right, because people can.
It's also good to make friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Not enemies.
It's like, this is the best thing ever. I'm the man. Where people do that, and I'm just like, this is bad for health and fitness.
Yeah, it puts a bad. Honestly, like I'm so glad you said that. Like, I hate the fitness industry. Like, as a blanket statement, just like. I think Mind Pump, I was listening to a show of theirs recently, and they made a point to bring up how in the beginning, they were actually even titling some of their episodes and content around like Mind Pump versus CrossFit, Mind Pump versus keto. And like they had more of a c'est la vie, or like, fuck them anyway kind of thing. Or now it's like, and I agree with them, like I think we're kind of coming full circle a little bit as fitness professionals, as health and wellness professionals. I think a lot more of the competition has gone away. I think a little bit more of the scarcity mindset has gone away, and a little bit more of your secret sauce that you just shared of paying attention to the gifts that people already receive from you and tripling down on that. And at the same time, like looking to your left and to your right, and like, all right, who else is doing what? Where can I refer out? Who needs help? How can I help people? Where can they help me, kind of thing. That's cool to hear, man. So not only did it help you in your business, but like paying attention and delivering better education and empowerment to your audience.
Yeah, that's the tough thing about social, just being on it all the time for the past 3 years. Like essentially obsessed with how can I deliver content the best to whoever is following me.
I'm becoming to hate that word, by the way, content. I feel like I'm like, I'm a content creator. I need more content. Like,
I hear that all the time too, and I'm like, influencer. Oh shit, like influencer. No.
Yeah. It'll pass, I'm sure, but it's just like it's top of mind right now. I'm like,
it's kind of one of those things where it's just like the only word that you can use to tell people.
It's the only way we can define it right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like content. Oh, I got to make 5 billion pieces of content today, and put it out on every platform. But that's like the tough thing is. I think people are just trying to get views, and they get in pissing matches with everyone. So it's like the verse, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Calling this person out, and I'm like, it's good for the views, and I'm sure you're making great ad spend on it, whatever, ad money on it, but it's not really doing great things for fitness. Like you can have your opinions, but don't like bash someone for doing something that's maybe not that bad.
Yeah. How would you, if anything, do it differently now? Like if you were you're starting out now, and like knowing that you were going to use social media as a tool to extend your reach and your engagement as a fitness professional, would that look any different now? Or
I don't know. I think I did it just like looking back at it. I was pretty good with the way that I laid everything out.
Was it intentional from the beginning for you?
No,
using it as a tool for business?
People think I'm an expert, and I'm like, I'm just figured shit out on the way.
Here's newsflash: none of us know what we're doing.
No,
we're all just figuring out as we go.
So yeah, pretty much. It was just like, what can I post? And this got popular. Let's keep doing that.
Triple down on that.
It's just like a trial and error at that point. But am I an expert at it? No, but I lived it, and I know what worked well for me. So I think it's just the experience. Looking back at it. Maybe just changing the content up a little bit more, because I became.
He said the C word.
That's the good C word. And maybe changing it up just a little bit, because if anyone looks at my page, it looks a little bit different now, because I stopped caring about what it looked like. It was very laid out. It's the same cover photo. It's exercise or body part on the left side with a picture, and then a video on the right side.
Curated.
Yeah, it looked really cool at the beginning, and it was actually probably what helped me grow the fastest, because it was like a library. I have a bicep issue. Let's go over here. I need a hip thing. Ooh, I found one over here. Maybe I might have switched it up a little bit more. It's tough to tell, or tough to say now, because everything's gone pretty decent. Maybe making more friends through it, because I started.
I like that.
I think you're just in competition. You see people who are in your industry, even if you don't want to see them, because it just pops up. You're like, fuck.
Because they throw it at you, Facebook.
Yeah, I don't like this person, and then you unfriend them, and then it pops up 2 seconds later.
That's another reason why I hate the fitness industry, because like Instagram only ever thinks that I want more fitness friends.
Exactly.
And my explore page is all just like shirt off dudes
bikini
and like
chicks
booty
and,
shots. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
dudes and bikini chicks.
Give me more Joes.
I just want to put coffee and stuff up there, and I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think at the beginning I was so like, I'm in competition with this person. oh, and I'm in competition with this person. I hate them. And I've never even fucking met them in person. And then
And may not ever will.
Yeah, and might not ever, but I have met a lot of these people, and they're great people.
Yeah.
It's just your perception, or you think they're something until you meet them. You're like, wow, this is like the nicest person. I was such a dick before, and
or I had a preconceived notion.
Exactly. I think that's so dangerous online because you can see someone, you're like, oh, this person's like a meathead or something, and I'm
douche
like,
lord.
Yeah, and then you meet them, and you're like, nicest person
Turns
ever.
out you're not a douche.
Super sweet. You're not a D-bag. And yeah, I mean, I think that's the cool part of social is you get to meet so many people.
Yeah.
And then some people are D-bags. So
yeah, they are.
And I've met those too. And like, I'm super pumped to meet them.
Yeah.
And they're dicks.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it. What could have been?
Womp womp. R.I.P. for sure. Been there.
Yeah.
Been there a few times.
Yeah, I'm sure you see it a lot. It's like on the night shows, they have these things. I was watching James Corden the other day.
I love him. Yeah.
They're like, ask James, what's the eating thing, right? And they ask him like messed up questions. I was just going to ask you like, hey, well, who's the person that you thought was going to be cool and they were D-bag? But
I'll tell you, I mean, I'll be totally honest. Like there have been rare occasions where someone has just been like, wow, like you suck. Like I could never see us hanging out or being friends. Very rare, but I will say, kind of keeping in mind of what we've been talking about of how people use social media with different intentions. I have met a lot of people where it's very, very clear once I meet them in real life that you put on a version of yourself online and it is nowhere near the same version as who you are in real life. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm not here. Who am I to tell someone how to like run their life, especially run their business? Because look, that's the beauty of what you can do now. You can step onto a platform as a beauty guru, as a fitness professional, as a real estate agent, whatever. You can step onto these platforms with the intention of creating a version of yourself, an avatar of yourself, because you got a product or a service to sell and push.
Sure.
And like, look, that's the way the world works nowadays, especially as business. And so I would say that I think in our space of health and wellness and fitness, for me, it's like usually one of two things. It's like, yes, exactly. You're awesome. It's cool. We click. We have the ability to engage with each other and like be a part, quote, of each other's lives a little bit. And then when you meet them, it's like super spot on. Absolutely. And if it's not that, the other one is no, like, who you are in front of a camera is one person. Who you are in real life is not. Right. And again, that's not good or bad, but I started to like the version I saw on Instagram. I started to like the version I saw on YouTube or your podcast. And like, I can't be friends with this other version. Yeah.
See, that's the tough part is because we're fitness people and we're influencing people. There's a word like influencing people, but they're there because of the persona you put on. Sure, and if it's fake, it's kind of, again, it's like their business. They can do whatever they want. But in my brain, maybe I'm like too nice. It's like I want to be the person that's on there because that's why you're following me. You're supporting me, which is helping me do my business and letting me do what I love to do every single day and creating a career out of it. So for me, if I'm fake, you might just catch me on a bad day. But
sure.
And I apologize if you caught me on a bad day. But other than that, I'm like, man, I try to be as genuine as possible because I dealt with that. I was like, this person would be awesome to me. They've inspired me so much, and then they suck. Yeah, it's like, damn,
that was a powerful suck.
Damn,
like you suck.
I'm gonna clip that out and use it for something.
Make it your like trademark sound clip.
You know how they do some of those videos? Gary Vee's big on it, but it's like a clip and then there's like a ka-ching, like and then like a logo comes on. That could be mine.
You suck. I'll kind of like bring it back a little bit to the intention we put behind these things as a fitness professional. I'll go back to what we were talking about earlier of the intention that I think we should put on our fitness journey, whether we're a total novice or going to be a power lifter or a bodybuilder or whatever. Your intention behind whatever you do in business and life, with yourself, with your workouts, I think is an area that a lot of people might overlook. And I think it's probably an area where when they do overlook it, especially in their fitness and their workouts, like, oh, cool, like I used to lift 500 pounds a couple of years ago. I'm going to go do the same thing. Well, then you snap your shit up, you get injured. So your intention has changed because you haven't really properly evaluated why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you kind of see that coming into the arena with like injuries, and like how can someone really get crystal clear with their intention of their movement and their exercise?
Injuries are the worst because, especially with people in fitness, usually in fitness and athletics, because they're they want to be the best. You know, they're trying to be the best version of whatever they're trying to do. So when they get hurt, it's tough for them to take a step back and be like, hey, I can't do this right now. I need to trust the process.
Or maybe I can't do it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, if it gets to that point, it's like, shit, you know, maybe I won't ever be able to do this, but, you know, maybe I can get close.
Yeah.
But they need to always take a step back, always see like a professional, and slowly, if it's, you know, fixable, and it could just be a sprain or a strain or surgery or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I used to work with a lot of kids with ACL surgeries when I was back as a trainer. And my whole thing was after they go through PT was getting them back to sport. It was called return to sport.
Okay.
And then you start breaking down a lot of their motions that they would see in their
like carryover movements.
Yeah, carryover. Yeah. It's like, can you squat and like shift your weight this way? Can you cut this way?
Yeah.
So just slowly getting them back, but it's a long process. And a lot of those kids were like, oh, well, I'm done with PT. I'm okay with the numbers. You know, my quad is strong, my left quad, right quad strong, but they haven't figured out the movements and haven't used it in real time. So they need to really trust the process, take a step back until they can actually progress and get comfortable going back to whatever thing they were first doing. So that's the toughest part because they always, I see this just like people who work out all the time and just trying to lift some weight around. They're like, oh yeah, I deadlifted, 400 pounds. I got a little strain. Yeah. And then they like literally 4 days later, they're like, oh, 400 pounds.
Because I've done it before, therefore I can always still do it.
Exactly. No. And instead of slowly ramping up, and then they never get fixed, right? And then they complain, and then it just takes longer.
1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Exactly. So that's one of the big things is if you get hurt, make sure you realize it's probably going to take a little time to get comfortable again, to get back up to whatever you were doing. Yeah. And it's not wrong. Like it's okay. It will be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Someone who's kind of gone through these, I was saying earlier, different paradigms and approaches to understanding the human body, the mindset behind it, then stepping in and doing it as a business, and then a whole other kind of separate business, growing like the social media aspect. Where do you, kind of 2-part question, where do you see this industry going of like fitness professionals on social media? And where do you see you going? Are they the same place or are they 2 different places?
It's so tough because people's intentions are either money focused, they're very money hungry, so they'll do anything to get that money, especially in the short term. And then there's people putting out really good information that's amazing, that's free. That's another thing.
Like this guy.
I'm free.
I'm free.
For most things, unless if there's a sponsor out there.
Who knows what this episode is going to be? Use promo code.
It's like, who's the sponsor for this one?
I don't know. You haven't had it slated for release yet.
I'm on 50% of whatever you get, though.
But in general, like it's free content, free education.
People don't realize. I think as the times are, we're getting there. It's 2020. I thought there were going to be flying cars and stuff going around by then, Jetson style. But everything is out and available. If you can't find it on Instagram, you'll find it on YouTube. There's this guy named Google who's pretty legit.
Google University.
I still use Yahoo. People give me shit for that. What? Yeah, I don't know. That's what I grew up on. So it
like just doesn't roll off the tongue. I'm going to Yahoo it. No. You're going to Google it.
I like Yahoo sometimes. And so all of that information is so free. So, getting back to the point is there's so many people doing things for the wrong reasons, good reasons. I'm hoping that some of the good stuff will at least get absorbed by the bad people. So a lot of the people who are trying to make money in the short term, they're taking tips and tricks from the people who are actually putting good information out there and then implementing it.
That's a good point.
Not stealing it because it's all free information, but because then they're like, ooh, if I do like 5 million air squats, it's not really going to do anything. Oh, maybe if I take this concept of load and whatever progression, it'll get better, and then they get better. So hopefully that stuff will start to kind of meet in the middle where it's so not black, it's not this, it's not the extremes where people are just pissing each other off. So hopefully
it's not Joe versus, it's not Chase versus.
Hopefully it will never get to the point where, but the thing is like marketing and stuff. If you're really good at marketing, there's so many different, it's weird being in the business side of things now. Because you don't see this stuff when you're just trying to learn about squats and deadlifts.
We've been pulled out of the matrix. Like,
well, that's what I always say. I'm like, it's like the Matrix. All you see is code now, and nothing's enjoyable.
Look, everything is a funnel. Everything you see is a funnel. I'm here to tell you, like, you are being sold. I'm selling you right now.
Pretty much.
Everything is a funnel.
We have subliminal messaging underneath everything.
I had this realization the other day, not to cut you off, sorry, man, but I was just like, I was talking to like a marketing consultant and like bringing some stuff up, and then like it just clicked. Like I saw the code finally. I was like, I've seen this. Like someone said this. I saw this ad, or I saw this post. I heard these words. I saw this copy, and I was like, I'm being sold all the time. And look, that's okay.
Fine. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like it's ultimately up to me how I'm going to continue to invest my time, how I'm going to vote with my dollars, and how well they do their job. But in the beginning, and for a long period of time in the beginning, like I'm getting value, I'm getting educated, and so many other people are as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Everything's a funnel.
Everything is a funnel, and I forgot what. For some reason, I brought. Did you ever watch Saved by the Bell?
Oh yeah.
There was this one episode where they played music. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna play this music that says I love Zach," or "I want to bring Zach out to the Valentine's Day thing," and they played the song,
like subliminal.
Yeah. So like, the message was like underneath, and then they played the song over it, and then everyone's like, "Oh, I want to give you my heart," and I was like, "Ooh, is that marketing?" And
that was the first social media funnel on TV. The Zach Morris funnel.
Well, maybe we should make something up called the Zach Morris funnel.
Let's collab, bro. Collab on this
50,
episode.
Yeah, 50-50.
In the video, we'll just put up random like subscribe.
Yeah, it's like a little flash of something. It's like, what are we selling today? Flash.
Like, did I see that? Did I make it up?
Yeah,
Buy my shit. Buy my shit.
And yeah, it's tough now because I see everything in like we got to this point because I was like, oh, everything is
like where's the fitness business going?
Even if it's bad information, someone with a lot of marketing dollars and knowledge can just push it.
Yeah.
And then people, they don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going to buy this thing. So I don't know. I won't lie. Hopefully it goes well, and hopefully there's good people out there that will just put good information out. And
like you. So where are you going specifically? Because you were saying earlier how you got your start has changed a little bit, particularly on like one social media platform. Like literally how your content looks has evolved. I'm sure that's intentional. So like where are you going? Where are you growing?
Yeah. So number one thing is just helping as many people as possible. Again, like getting into this industry, sometimes I'm like, oh, I got to go do this session, or I got to do this massage session. And then I go in there and I'm like, this is why I did this. And like, I feel so much better when someone's like, Joe, you helped me out so much. Thank you so much.
Like whenever I can move again.
When someone says thank you so much when they leave, I'm like, like that's why I got into this business. Yeah. So that was another thing about the book, is because I live in kind of this Instagram bubble. And I'm like, everyone knows who I am, but on Instagram, but in person, or like in real life, or anywhere else, they're like, who? Tennis ball guy. No. So this was another avenue to get in front of more people that might not ever hear me, which is why,
with the intention of educating and helping other people.
Exactly. Yeah. And the information in here is what I believe is not mind-blowing, but it's good, smart information where, again, it's not just about, I'm not saying stretching is the cure-all for everything, pain, whatever. It's like I put in, good nuggets of knowledge that are practical in here. And then again, hopefully it will drive people to be more active in the future, because I'm 32. I'm about to turn 33 tomorrow.
Oh, happy early birthday, man.
Thank you.
Oh, shit.
And I'm getting older and I'm starting to feel it. And I'm working out less. And it's just because of being busy. And I remember being a trainer, and I train all these like 40, 50-year-olds. I'm like, you just got to make time. Like, were you not motivated? And now I know why it's so difficult.
We were that guys.
Yeah.
We were that guys.
You got to do it. Well, you got to do it. And
I don't want your excuses. Just like build an action plan. Like, life happens.
Yeah, and I'm just like, man, I got to finish this edit. I got to go do this. I got to take a call. I got to work on my business so I can live. And that took, priority for a couple of years for me, which I used to be fucking like more jacked than I am now, but getting back into it. And, you know, I think that's important, is to just make sure people are moving more and then have a good plan, you know, moving ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of the thing. And, you know, hopefully I can continue to just keep spreading the word whatever way. Hopefully I get more opportunities doing other things where I can just start, you know, educating people, because I think as fitness people and just being in this type of environment on social, this bubble, this social media bubble, this fitness bubble, we know a lot of stuff, and our friends know a lot of stuff, but outside of that, a lot of people don't know that much about, you know, some people are like, what's stretching, or like, what's foam rolling?
What's a dynamic warm up?
Yeah. What's this do? Like, what can I do for your hamstring? And I'm just like, wow, this is so basic to me, but to that person, Sally over there, she's like, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. That's such a good reminder. I think especially someone listening right now who is maybe like us or is getting started, you know, in this industry, never lose sight of that. And that's why, another reason why I love, you know, that I get to be selfish here with this, what I do now in this podcast, is just have these conversations to continue to expand my horizons and learn, but to be reminded of like why I got into this business in the beginning, why I do what I do, why you do what you do. And it's this reminder of, I am further along in my journey. You are further along in your journey, but someone's journey, watching this, listening to this right now, this might be the start for them.
Exactly.
And something as small or mundane, or as we think is small or mundane, is the biggest, greatest concept they've heard in a long time, and is what they need to take action to stretch, to move, to finally live, and hopefully with a good intention.
Yeah, it's the DMs that I get sometimes. I'm just like, wow, I didn't think this would affect someone. And it'd be the most basic thing, and they're so appreciative about this one thing, and it might have inspired them, it might have made them feel better, but we can't forget like where we came from, and you know, hopefully if someone, I'm going to pay someone if I change and punch me in the face. It's just smack me. I think that's
I feel like this is like a movie or something, like someone, maybe I'm making this up, I don't know, like paid someone like, hey, if I ever like get too big for my britches kind of thing, or if you see me being an a-hole, like just randomly without warning, you get to run up and like kick me in the balls. like getting an award and just like,
it's like a jackass thing or something. It's just like,
or it's like, have you seen that movie Tag?
No, I haven't seen Tag yet.
It was funnier than I was expecting it to be. And
see, that's why I thought it was like, oh, this is going to be stupid.
Yeah, it's like an adult tag game. I know this sounds stupid. It was more funny than I thought it was going to be. And here's why, because it actually was based on a true story. And it gave me this idea. Wow, what a cool concept to like have this running theme. I wanted to start with all my friends. So the guys, we like every year from this date to this date, we're playing tag, and like I'm going to randomly show up on your doorstep from across the country and like tag you or like kick you in the dick or something. And like you're it.
See you later.
Yeah, and then like, you know, it's a human interaction that I think is just so cool. But I don't know why I got started talking about that, but the reminder of like, you know, why we do what we do. And recognizing that when you do it with intention and stay, of course, growing in your job, in your profession, but also continuing as much as you look forward to look back, to see who is still there with their hand up saying, hey, Joe, hey, Chase, like I need your help, or I have this question. This may sound stupid, but like, no, like we were there not that long ago, really.
Yeah, I love that. It's hopefully I get to a point business-wise where I can spend a little bit more time helping out the people growing, because I remember if I had anything or anyone to help me out, I think when you're young, you're trying to figure out who do I want to be, who can I admire, who do I inspire to be, and you reach out to them, no one's going to answer. It's rarely going to happen.
Or if they do nowadays, it might not even be them.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So kind of giving back. I try to do that with the massage therapy side of things, where any massage therapist who hits me up, and it's a tough industry, very tough. Luckily, I'm okay in it, but a lot of people are struggling or coming out of school, or they're struggling in their business.
Like making it a career kind of thing.
How do I make it a career? Because it's like training. It's so much turnover. It's like, I think less than 5 years is and like you're living pretty crappy during those 5 years too.
Yeah.
So anyone who hits me up, I always say, I give them advice. You know, I'll either like tape a video, just because I remember like how much I was stressing out back then on how do I succeed. And I know that will go a long way, and hopefully one day they're at, a high level too.
No doubt, man. I mean, think about like the impact you're going to make on them. That's huge, because that's the last part you just said is something that I try to keep top of mind as well, because outside of the podcast, like I still work, I coach other coaches, kind of getting started or helping them kind of grow. And every time I'm reminded, like you, where it's like, we got this call scheduled, and like I had this other thing I want to do. I'm just like, it's that initial hesitation, right? Or the initial like, but then I talk to them and I'm like, oh my God, like this is exactly where I was like last month or 5 years ago. We get feedback on like their first client or their 10th client, or like just feedback on them as a human being, as a business owner. I'm like, fuck yeah, like that's fulfillment. That's amazing. And then you never know who they're going to become. Like, if I can contribute, if we can pour into others in any small way to help them reach their fullest potential, or just put them on the path for potential, like part of me is like, because hey, like don't forget about little people who helped you out. Like maybe you blow up way more than I ever will.
Yeah, well that's the thing. Yeah,
maybe you can give me tickets to your show or send me your book or whatever. Exactly. Whatever. Like don't forget about me.
Yeah, create something and remember me. Exactly. And then
that's not the main intention.
When you get that private jet, remember me.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I'll say the massage therapy thing. That's another huge component to my regular wellness as well. Is mobility, is yoga, is strength training. Just as a human being, as a busy professional, but also like I don't know if you know, like I went through a string of really serious injuries in the military. Like had to learn how to walk again, kind of shit.
Oh damn!
And so like all the things that you've been talking about, and then I looked at your content are immediate reminders of what I need to continue to go back to because of the things in my journey. So, I mean, thank you for what you do for sure. In the massage therapy component, if you're listening, if you're watching and you can marry massage therapy with fitness like Joe has done, or even create your own unique approach, I'm telling you, as someone who has been through it on both sides, the professional, like receiving it and, in the business, that is a secret sauce. That is a secret sauce.
It's really good because, again, I live in two different worlds because I hang out with so many evidence-based people where, the science isn't there.
Scientific versus the anecdotal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but because I'm in the industry, I'm obviously a little bit biased, but I try to see the positives of it, and it gives you more range of motion, but it also makes you just feel way better. It might like feel a little bit uncomfortable. When you leave, you feel way better. Your brain feels way better. You feel more confident in going into that workout tomorrow. And then and like I just like it. I mean, I love going to a massage therapy session.
I have a monthly subscription with this company called Zeal, like once a month.
Okay, yeah.
They come here. Like they gave me a massage table, so like I technically could like. I mean, she doesn't. But I have my wife. Like, she's like, no, you gotta. You don't pay someone for that. It's like $85 a month. It's really not that bad. They come, like you schedule them, and like it. And I did that because I wasn't doing it, and so now like I have that kind of financial commitment.
Sure.
And actually, it's a good reminder. I'm like 2 months behind, but like
double up.
Integrating that is so important to my regular training, to my recovery, and to just overall feeling well. I mean, you're increasing blood flow, increasing oxygenation, getting rid of toxins, like all these different systems that work in our body, whether you're a power lifter, an everyday athlete, a working professional, just a human being. Like these are the small little things that we've been talking about that just find a way to integrate it into your day, into your life. Like you will be so grateful.
And there's another reason why I did my Instagram account was because everyone was like, hey, Joe, I'm not in Orlando. I can't get a session with you.
Yeah. I'm
sorry. Like, is there anyone you can refer out to me out here? Or, man, it's too expensive. I can't afford it. And, for you and I, maybe $50, $60, $70, $80 isn't that much. Or we can spin it at least, right?
Right.
Where some people that's, they need that money. So
that's a different part of our journey, just like we were saying earlier.
Exactly.
In our fitness,
Like, I mean, when I started, I didn't have, like, I was in debt, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't afford that much. Like, even $50 would have been very difficult for me to spend on something that's a maybe. Like, maybe it will help me out.
I've been there. Yeah, absolutely, man.
So I created using the tennis ball as a self-massage tool. And that was very important for me because you most likely have a tennis ball around. Yeah. And if you don't, it's like $1.
Tube of 3 for like $2.99.
Exactly. It's very cheap. Yeah. So it was, I'm not selfish about the money. Here's a tennis ball. You can do this on your own. And then, hopefully maybe you at least feel a little bit better that you can keep going on with whatever you're doing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So very important. Yeah. All that stuff.
Oh, man, I mean, so much here. Kind kind of been all over the place, but just overall,
it's always like all my conversations are like that.
Just likewise, yeah. Just personally, professionally, like if you want to get into this industry, if you already are in this industry, how can you better help your business? How can you better help your own body to help literally other bodies? Or if you're not, just what are these things that we should be doing to just instill as a daily practice? Or how, even start as a weekly practice. If you can start integrating some of these things once a week, find more time throughout the week to do it. I promise you, as someone who is 34 years old, trained in every fashion possible, been through all the injuries you can imagine, like all the jobs, all the travel, everything. Like when it comes down to it, I tell people all the time, if I could only pick one form of exercise that I could only do for the rest of my life, it would be yoga. And yoga includes like so much of what is in this book, and what you're talking about is just mobility, which is also a form of strength training like we're talking about. And it's just your body, when you're done with some of these movements and stretches and practices, it's just like it's this huge exhale.
You feel way better. Like I don't do yoga as that much, but I'll jump into a session here and there. When I leave, I'm like, like I feel
like floating.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel good. Let's drink some water and get hydrated now. I feel way better, but you do feel better because you're doing a lot of things where you usually don't do. It's like
Absolutely.
A lot of back bending and
getting out of your comfort zone physically.
Yeah,
man. Well, Joe, it's been a pleasure having you on here, man.
I appreciate you having me. It was fun.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I like to try to keep it around an hour. Be mindful of everybody's time. Literally moving ever forward is I think what can be taken away here. But that concept, that term, I mean, you've gotten to know me a little bit more. You're familiar with my brother, and I'm sure you've heard those words before. What does that mean to you? How do you live a life ever forward, and how can this help us live a life ever forward?
Ever forward. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that so much just watching your brother's vlogs. It's, I would say make it very consistent, and then also don't put so much stress on yourself. Growing up, and I'm 32 now, like I feel like I just figured it out. It's from, I mean, I went to college and I did not the greatest in college. And then I felt like, damn, I'm stressing out here. Like, when am I going to finally figure it out? So I would be patient. I would be consistent with whatever I'm doing. Find what you love and just keep doing it. I think that's the most simple thing is find something that you thoroughly enjoy. It's kind of that cliche, like do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life or some shit like that. And
it's still work.
It's still work.
But it's fulfilling work.
Exactly. And then stay consistent with it, and hopefully great things will happen. And that's the way I've done things. And finally, at 32, I can see kind of the light, like, okay, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And don't stress out. I mean, so many young 20-year-olds right now are freaking out. They're like, I got to figure it out now. Why am I not a millionaire? And I'm like, dude,
thanks a lot, Instagram.
It's like, where's my Lambo? And I would just say that. Find what you love, be passionate about it, be consistent with it, literally keep moving forward with that idea, and hopefully it blossoms into something super amazing.
Yeah, I'll make the obvious joke here. Stretch your body, stretch your mind. Moral of the story is just stretch in all areas.
I'm going to trademark that. I'm going to trademark that. No royalties.
Beautiful, man. You guys definitely got to check out Joe's content. Like if you're ever looking for mobility workouts, stretches, all these things we've been talking about, his Instagram is literally a library of all of this stuff. And this book, man, I'm really excited to dive into this. Better Stretching, 9 minutes a day. I'll have his book, his content all linked down in the show notes and the video notes for you guys. And if you don't read good, it's okay. This is a lot of pictures.
It's a lot of pictures. Trust me. There's not that many words in it. So just good golden nuggets here and there. And then you get to see my ugly face in there. So.
No, man, this is huge. Again, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on.